Queenstown tourist operators need an exact date for quarantineless travel with Australia so they can ramp back up after cutting staff and services in the wake of COVID and the closed border. That's according to a local industry group. The Prime Minister's announced an agreement with Australia for a travel bubble in the first quarter of next year, assuming there's no material changes in either country's COVID status. And the exact date for rolling out the welcome mat is yet to be decided. Australia's cabinet still needs to sign off. Arrangements are being made to keep arriving Aussies separate from other passengers, and airlines need notice to fire back up grounded planes and furloughed staff. Craig Douglas from the Queenstown Chamber of Commerce says it's the best news they've had in yonks, but they're going to need a run-up too.
Well, it's great to hear that, we're talking about first quarter of next year. The sooner the better for the visitor industry in New Zealand.
So is it an early Christmas present or is it a late Christmas present as far as you're concerned?
I suppose it's the hint of a Christmas present. Really, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge yet to understand what that actually means for people being able to travel. And the businesses need more certainty around the timeframes that we're talking about, from an announcement to the reality of it actually occurring. What are the logistics that are going to be required for people to be able to travel? The industry needs time to react and respond and make sure that we're ready to accept visitors and host them in the way that we want to be able to host them.
Are you confident it will happen in the first quarter?
Well, that's what we've got to go with. We've been told that the first quarter is what they're targeting. So confidence is a difficult thing to have at the moment. We need more certainty around a lot of issues, but this is some of the best news we've had for some time.
When you say you need more certainty and more time to prepare, what for? Because don't you have the space? You're ready, just throw open the door and go?
Well, most of the businesses have actually responded by downsizing, and there's a lot of capacity missing out of our offer here in Queenstown and across New Zealand's tourism offer generally. It doesn't come back overnight. It takes time to recruit staff. It takes time to find staff. It's very difficult at times to find the right staff. And then they've got to be trained. Businesses have got to be provisioned. It's not something that businesses can immediately turn on volume. They need time to be able to respond and react.
So are some of them also working reduced hours?
Very much so. Reduced hours, reduced offer, very much about keeping the staff costs as low as possible, because the revenues just aren't there at the moment with the volume that's coming through. So it's one thing to say that we're going to have plane loads of Australians turning up and want to experience everything that we've got on offer, but it's going to take time for the industry to be able to switch all of that back on. And rather than respond after the fact, what we would be calling for is to know well in advance so that people can prepare and be ready as soon as the opportunity presents itself.
So what information do you need besides an exact date?
It's really the notice period. How much forward notice will we get of the date? When people start arriving, are there going to be any logistical requirements? Are people going to have to test? Are their movements going to be restricted? What's expected as far as people sort of logging their movements around the country? There's a lot of questions that will be answered, I'm sure, but what we call for is for them to be answered sooner rather than later so that people can prepare.
If they are talking about free travel by the end of the first quarter, when do you need to know the exact date? How much of a run-up do you need?
It's difficult to say, but it's 6 weeks would probably be a good target to know that you can prepare, organise your business, get the appropriate staff employed, and that's going to be a challenge because in the tourism industry, there's a lot of migrant staff that are no longer here that form a lot of the resource pool that businesses use to deliver volume. we need some weeks to respond.
Will there be businesses that simply cannot make it until that time?
I think it will be difficult for some. The certainty of knowing that it will happen at a particular time will make it easier for businesses to plan to make it through to then. The difficulty that many have at the moment is that they're trying to stretch their meagre resources through to a period when they can trade at a profitable level again, but nobody can tell them when that's going to be. So again, certainty about that will give businesses the ability to make the decisions that they need to make sure that they can get through.
What percentage of businesses in your area do you think are not profitable without foreign tourists?
Oh, look, I don't know if I can put a figure on that. There are several businesses and many businesses that won't be profitable. There are many businesses that are trading through on the back of their capital at the moment just to keep going because they can see the opportunity that they will be profitable again. And again, it's that uncertainty of knowing what that window of time will be. So it's difficult for them to know if it's worth continuing or they might as well shut up shop now because they're not going to make it through to when visitors arrive back. But if we knew when that was, then they could make much more informed decisions. But the Australian market is second to our domestic market, particularly in summer. They're a very strong contributor to Queenstown. And of course, if we do have an open border with Australia, it's unlikely that Australians will be able to travel to anywhere but New Zealand. So, we're going to be a very sought-after destination for Australians who are wanting to travel.
And that is Craig Douglas from the Queenstown Chamber of Commerce.